Hi guys, a new project on the bench here is a Thomas York kit. It's the W.B.Davis Company. Here are some of the pictures that came in with the kit when you buy it. And it's the building itself, which has the basement level and an upper level. The boiler house, which is pretty neat. I was actually thinking about that for something else. And then it gives you the water tower to feed the boiler house, which I think is pretty cool. And it should be an interesting kit when we get it all together. The directions, they give you a nice set of blueprints so you can see what goes where for your building, for your side details from the front, the back, the side. This is the roof section. And it gives you all the stuff that goes on the roof, so it gives you a good idea of what you got. The boiler shack and how that's put together and your dimensions. And also the water tower. And you can actually lay the wood down on those. These are the castings that come in the kit. This is the whole kit spread out on the table. They're nice hydrocal plaster castings, which I do like because they take to paint and stain actually very well. As you watch the video, you'll see as I went along and how I've painted pieces, and you'll get an idea of what's what. You got a lot of detail parts and windows and everything, all your wood pieces, and this is a 3-floor building. That gives you a nice set of directions that tell you what all you'll need besides what doesn't come in the kit. Like, for instance, this needed a 3/4 inch plywood base for the actual basement floor. And you'll see what I did there. So we started out with the pieces and got driftwood for the color. And that's what I used to color all the stonework. For my floor, I used a piece of veneer, and I put glue on one side, and then the plywood that I was using wasn't as thick as I needed for the 3/4 inch, so I put my piece on that. I clamped it up nice and tight and got the nice floor. With my walls, I painted up the doors with a roof brown, and I used graphite for the hinges and then weathered them. Once the floor was glued and dried, then I went and stained it. Then I went and glued my walls to that bottom floor. And I used Tidy Bond glue to do this and secure it to the base of the floor. And that seemed to work out rather well. Alright, after getting my walls done, what I did was I painted the walls and got them done. Then I put a flat finish over top of them to protect it for when I put on the joint compound. And this is a dust controlled joint compound. It actually works pretty good. What we're going to do, take the little spatula, we're going to come along our wall and we're going to spread it into the joints. And this will be our grout. So what we want to do is really push it in good. That'll fill all the cracks up. Then wipe down as much of it as you can off of it. Try to get in without getting your paint spots there. So little by little, I fill it in. You can do a little at a time. You don't have to do a whole wall at a time. Get it all wiped in like that. Scrape as much of it off as you can, the excess. And then what I do is I take a sponge and you'll wipe the excess off. So we'll wipe it down and that'll leave all your grout lines filled in. Now, this is why we went and put a clear coat over, because it would have taken that paint off, which was like a polyester or an acrylic, which is a water base, and we would have wiped out all the paint that we had put on. That's why we put a clear flat on. Usually I use a Rust-Oleum. I'll show a picture of that as well. But that's how you do your joint compounds. Thank you. Here's what the finished walls look like, and here's a Krylon Fusion that I use. The walls came out pretty good. Now for the upper walls, I stained them with a Shenandoah red, and it makes for a nice brick red for your base coat. And like I said, it's a good base coat. Hi guys, this part of the building is filling in all these little bricks with different colors. A lot of times this is the most challenging part for people, and a lot of times it doesn't get done on buildings because people get scared of sitting here kind of detailing all these little bricks in, which is what actually can make your building look the most realistic, is varying the colors of the bricks. You know, you put your, like I did here in the beginning, I put a coat of stain on it, which gave me my basic brick red. Then I'm going around and I'm filling in bricks, probably about 150 to 175 bricks, different colors. I'll do like 100 of, like right now I'm doing the burnt sienna. There's a boxcar red that'll be on it, military brown, roof brown, Oxford red. But I'll do the bricks and get multicolors out of them. And I don't want to bore you guys, but I'll sit here. Yeah, this will take some time, and I'll do this probably over the next week or two, getting all the little colors, and I'll redo it. It's quite relaxing, actually. Some people think it's, you know, it drives them up a wall, but for each his own. But it's one of the things that makes the building pop. When I get done this, because it's watercolor, I will spray it with a flat finish. I'll either use the flat finish from the Fusion line from Krylon, or I'll use the the Rust-Oleum. And either or works, you know, whatever you got. But you put a flat finish on it so that when we go to do our grout, because we're going to paint the grout in and then wipe it off, and you'll see that step as well. So keep following along the video, and you know, you'll see tips here and there, but I'll sit here for a while and paint all these bricks on all the walls. Okay, here you see a couple of the bricks done, and it's step by step, a little at a time, color by color. It gives you an idea how the wall changes a bit, and it starts to look much better. Alright, after we got all the little brick detail on it, and everything painted. Most of it's with a watercolor and the acrylics. What we need to do is we need to seal it before we go and put our mortar in the joints. And what I like to use is a clear flat finish. Fusion, Krylon Fusion works really good, or you can use the Rust-Oleum, doesn't really matter. But what I do is we'll spray it over, get a nice coat on it, and that way then it'll seal all this up, so when we go to put the mortar on, it won't actually take all that paint off. So we'll give it a nice coat and then let it sit and dry overnight, and tomorrow I will put the mortar in. You can see it brings out a lot of the color when it's glossed, but this will dry nice and flat. It'll look like it did when you painted it. Alright guys, now that I've got this flat finish on it, and I'm working on the mortar, and what I like to use is this aged concrete. It's an old polyester. You can find a lot of the other acrylic paints that are similar to it in color. I just have some of this left over that I like to use on my buildings. But what I do is brush it in here like so, and get down in the cracks there, get up top here. We'll wipe this down with a rag. It don't have to be wet. I prefer not to have it wet or damp rag. I do little sections at a time. We'll just take a paper towel. We'll fold this up. Make it easy to work with. And then what we'll do is we're going to wipe it. Just going to wipe it down. Like I said, you don't want to do too much at a time. You can bend that in an angle and get into the corners and clean that up really good. Now, if it's too much that you can't get into the corners that well, I like using these little cotton swabs, and they're good for getting down into the cracks. You might have to throw them away after a couple of wipes, but you know what? To get a quality job, you gotta sacrifice some things. Q-tip I can sacrifice. Clean that off. Now a lot of times I'll take my finger and wipe over it a couple of times. Make sure I got it. That'll give you a nice aged concrete look going on. And then when we weather it, it'll tone it down a little. So we will be putting a black wash on this down the road after we get the building built. Then we'll go through and kind of age some of this stuff a little and make it look even more weathered. But that's how we get the concrete mortar in there. You'll get up into these tops up here, and like I said, the Q-tips will come in handy to get in there to clean the mortar out. And I'll show you this when I'm done with it. I don't think I want to bore you with the whole process, but that shows you the basics to get you started. I'll show you the finished wall, what it looks like when I'm done, as far as getting the concrete in for the mortar. Alright, here's what the finished wall looks like after we got the mortar put in. And it turned out fairly well. And then I had two walls I started gluing together. Like I said, I like to use the Tidy Bond too, and that works out very well for gluing them together. Alright, we thank you all for following us, and there will be more on this build down the road. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. We very much appreciate that. You can also find us on our O-Gauge model railroading tips, tricks, and more on Facebook. It's a great page to learn a lot. And you can find us at Henning's Trains in Lansdale, PA. We have a lot of your parts and supplies that you need to build model kits and to pick up your trains and parts. And we also have the Train Shop Weekly on YouTube that we have just about every other week. And you'll find brand new items and tips and tricks that we do there as well. Thank you all and have a good day.